got some doctoral work going on at the moment, and the doctorate is in geography. So I'm trying to understand where are sacred places and where are secular spaces. And my talk is subtitled The BVM and the GIS, and you'll see why in a few minutes. So I'm interested in why some places are considered holy and others are considered secular. And I'm wondering about the Dublin streets, and I'm trying to look for clues of where people think are holy places and where they think they're secular spaces. And I've come across 26 different sites of Marion statues all over Dublin City. God, the slides really fly by. In Dublin City and Dún Laoghaire, there are 26 sites of Sacred Heart of Jesus, or the Marion statues in Dublin. So obviously, with things being close together, they must be related. So I kind of figured, if they're next to each other, they must have a pattern. So I took out the number of widows in 2006. So try to understand the patterns of where the statues might be and why they are, where they are, why they are. But of course, the darker areas have fewer statues. So I was just wondering, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's got to do with the age of the housing stock. So I took out those houses built between 96 and 06, and I put the statues again on it, and I kind of figured out, well, is there something about the collection of area around the Liberties, for example, that kind of tells us something about who lives in these areas? But there's no pattern emerging. But of course, then they go to the more obvious ones. For example, the percentage of people who say they have no religion. So the darker, the larger the percentage. But of course, there are still statues in those areas. So what is it about these areas that I'm not pulling out from the data that don't quite get to what it is that makes them sacred and holy places? So clearly, you can't look at this grand scale that these are holy places. Some places are holy and some places are secular. They're not sacred. So you have to get down and look at each of the sites themselves. This is the Sacred Heart at the top of O'Connell Street. We're at the taxi rank dedicated to Eugene Lawler, who used to help the taxi drivers to park their taxis. It's solar powered, so it was renovated when the street was renovated. This is dedicated in Hardwick Street Flats to a woman who was killed by a joyrider in 1980. And as you can see, it's encased in a locked glass frame. And the man, when I stopped to take a photograph, the man who stopped to talk to me, his wife had actually died in that accident. This is the one at the corner of Grey Street and Reginald Street in Dublin 8. This is a Sacred Heart of Jesus statue to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Catholic emancipation in 1929. And again, people just sit around this having their lunch and so on. But I also want to understand, what is it about these areas that get marked out as Maryland? This is Maryland just off Cork Street. This particular statue of Mary was painted between my first and second visits. Somebody thought I was important enough that I was taking photographs that they should paint the thing up. But of course, Mary also moves. Statue moves. This is the one in the timber yard, which when the new building was built on Cork Street, had to be moved. But of course, it couldn't just be moved. It had to be put in storage until the building went up. And this is the old representation. This is the more recent representation of the statue, built into the newly reconstructed building in 2009, including its own kneeling step. So these are the words of the project architect, and the architect was keen that the statue go back into the building. It's part of the fabric of the building. But alongside the statue, people are also making more informal markings on the wall to represent their form of religiosity. So are these sacred places or are they secular spaces at the corner of Cork Street? I'm not quite sure, is that a traffic light or is it the Russian Orthodox cross? Then there, of course, there's Fatima Mansions, has been redone as Reuben Street. And on Reuben, at the end of what is now Reuben Street, there used to be a large Our Lady of Fatima statue. And I was beginning to wonder what happened to the statue after it was renovated. This is the statue as was put in storage in the F2 building, wrapped in cellophane to keep her safe until such time as they could figure out where on earth they're going to put the new statue of Mary when she's ready to go up into that new space. So these are all in public places. Looking at this photograph again, I'm thinking this afternoon about the road signs, the road directional signs are not in front of the statue. So what is it about these public spaces that we still want to avoid blocking out the light or the view of Mary? This is one in the Artane this is one in Artane. This one is locked most of the time, but it's in the middle of a public park. So is this public space or is it private space? And is it holy space or is it secular space? So I'm interested in why certain areas get dedicated as secular and why as sacred. This one's actually for Conor because he wanted a project where you could actually photograph Ireland from the viewpoint of Mary. So I just thought I'd take this for Conor. This again is in a housing estate in North Dublin, and they are maintained all the time. So we've got to ask ourselves, what is about the maintenance of the statues, and in particular, why are they protected by railings? This one being locked, somebody's got a key. So if somebody's got a key, then they're preventing people from damaging these statues. The only recorded occurrence of damage to a statue I could find was in 1987, but not since. Okay, thanks very much.